we're going to actually start throwing some strings on here tonight. Would you believe that? We've done a lot of work in prep. Prep's all done. Time to get the strings on. But all that stuff's part of stringing, honestly. So, piano up here. First thing we're going to grab. First thing we are going to grab. Let me turn the camera around, obviously. Well, not so obviously, because I hadn't done it yet. Okay. First thing we're going to grab is the pin block support. You got to support the pin block. We're going to be driving with a great amount of force. Now, for a Steinway pin block like this, I can just put my support. This jacks up. I can put it right in the middle of the pin block and feel confident that the whole thing is going to be supported well. Okay. Just want to prop that up. Good. Okay. Okay, goody good. Next thing we need, tuning pins. We are going to need some tuning pins if we want to put strings on the piano, right? Right. Boy, I tell you what, I had a call with my family, took a dinner break. I am a new man here. We're gonna go the distance. Well, you know, to a point. Okay. All right. Next thing we're going to get is, we've got our tuning pins here in the box. We've got all our felt and our A-graphs installed. We're just about, well, we got it all, right? Okay, let's do this. Open this box like so, if I get this right. Beautiful, what we call, the size is 2/0, and I'm using 2 3/8 nickel tuning pins. Tool palette out here. Yeah. Rotate that a bit. We've got our palm nailer and our punch. Gonna put some air tool oil in the palm nailer. Grab that. It is. It is all my favorite stuff. Okay. So this is just for air tools, you know, got oil and stuff. There's moisture and things that come through the line. Okay. That should do it. We'll connect this to our air. Now, I drive these tuning pins with like 110, 120 psi. It's hard. Like if you were to try and hammer these by hand in this new block, you'd be surprised. You would really need to swing. Okay. All right, we're just going to tuck this thing to the side for now. That'll come into play, our palm nailer. Then we're going to empty our tuning pins out. But not like that. Let's do it a little more. Let's do it a little neatly here, Hiram. Come on. Come on. All right. That's the way. Okay. Let's set these down here for when we need a refill. And gather our tools together that we want here. We're going to do, let's do tuning pin crank tuning pin thing, Bob. We've got our coil measure that I make that I will sell you for the right price. And just contact me on my website, Salt Lake Piano Service, saltlakepianoservice.com. And there's a contact form. You can contact me through that, and I can let you know how you can get any of these tools that I use. I don't sell them all, but I'll help you get them as needed, right? So, okay. Bunch of stuff on here I don't need. So we'll kind of shed some weight. All right, the next thing, this is, that's our coil lifter. We need parallel pliers, which I believe are over here. You need a bazillion tools to string a piano, all right? So, anyway. Okay, I've got a ruler to set things initially, and I've got a screwdriver should we need that. I've got my A-graph T-handle, I've got my tuning hammer. I mean, we got it all here, folks. So, let's get our spool of wire out. Okay, we start with size 13 wire. If I remember, this coil is messed up. It's going to give us a little grief. That's okay. Now, the first thing we got to do on the Steinway is we got to tack down these those shiny, what we call rear duplex bars there in the back. Okay, these guys. Right here, we got to tack this down on both sides, and we're going to do it to all three and tune them up, and then we'll get going, you know, with our fast mode. So first thing I'm going to do is get size 13, and just do one. Let me get, now this coil's messed up. Well, maybe not so bad. Now the way I do this is different. This is different than I think everybody. And I don't just want to be different. It's just the way I like to do it, all right? So, so the way I'm going to measure how long I need is I'm going to fold this in half, and I want the end here to be a little bit past, just right about where these pins are here. See these gold pins? Brass, gold. And then I want the loop to be farther than these holes by a comfortable amount, okay? Pretty much like almost to the edge of the plate there. And then I know, okay, that's going to be long enough, all right? Now I need to get gloves on to do this properly, but I'm going to start my way, but start by just cutting that. So I cut it. It's got a natural curvature to it. I'm going to flip it around, slide my hand and crimp it. Okay, now that bend is going to go around this pin here. Okay, before I go further, let me go get my gloves on, save my hands and everything else. Now, one thing, just slide this bar all the way to the right. Just get it so that your wire's on top of it. You can move it around a little bit later. But we're going to start with that. I'm going to stick a bean bag on there, kind of hold that down. It's not beans. If anyone can guess what it is, you get a cookie. All right, so and I will be needing a Diet Coke for this procedure. That is important. Grab your Diet Coke. Okay. First thing, before I get ahead of myself, I need to make sure that this tool is the length that I want. Okay. Now the way I'm going to do that, let me zoom out here now that we know what we're talking about there. The way I'm going to do that, I'm just going to set this next to a ruler, and 1 inch equals 1 coil, all right? But my cutter, the way I do this, I measure my wire on here, and then I butt this up against here and cut. And my cutter's kind of thick, okay? So I need less than 3 inches, even though I want 3 coils in the end. So it actually ends up being about 3 and 28 30 seconds. And you can reduce that if you want, sure, whatever, you know. But 3 and 30 seconds is what we're going to use. So now that that's the correct length, I'm going to pull these guys. Okay, make sure I know which one's the right, which one's the left. I'm going to take a dry erase marker and I'm going to put the string down. Now I'm marking right on over the edge of the hole in the wood, not in the gold, because the gold hole can vary some. So I go to the hole in the wood and I mark that edge away from me. And the way I make the mark is, the goal is the mark should be straddling that front edge. So in other words, that edge is the middle of where my mark is. It's really easy to make a mark where that's the middle. It'd be really hard to make an edge because the mark has some thickness to it, right? So that's the answer to that problem. Then we're going to measure and cut. I just go to my mark. Again, the middle of the mark is the target. Put my cutter on here and cut. Then I wipe off my mark. Do the same over here. Okay. Cut, wipe off my mark. Now I'm ready to put those 2 tools down and grab the next 2 things, which is a coiler and a tuning pin. Okay. Need to adjust this height correctly because someone else was using it on a different piano. There we go. So now I'm going to pre-coil my wire, okay? So I'm going to just put this on here, and I'm going to stick that wire all the way through the tuning pin where the hole is that I showed you the other day, and I'm going to crank it. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3 times down. Now when I let go, I don't really have 3 coils, even though I counted the 3 times down. I have about 2.5, okay? I have almost 2.5. Now I'm going to put the other side. It doesn't matter at this point what the wire's doing. We already pulled it tight, measured it, and cut it. So how many coils these can have is already done. It's set, okay? It has to do with the length of the wire. Okay, I'm going to coil this one, 1, 2, 3 down. Then, now my wire came off here even though I had my thing, so I just have to reset it. That's no big deal. Okay. All right. Let me stick this back on. You have to have it on the bridge pins. You have to put it on along its correct path, okay? Now I'll be able to drive these in. I'm not going to drive them in all the way just yet. Well, maybe I will. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to drive these in. And I'm going to go until the threading is just level with the plate on this piano. Okay. And that's good. Now I've done this different ways, but this is sufficient what we've done here just by sight. Okay. Now my string's kind of loose. It's threatening to come off. I'm going to stick that beanbag on there again. No, I'm not going to stick a beanbag actually. No, I am. Okay. So first thing I want to do is I want to just rough tighten these, okay? This is going to go through the whole process for a string for these first few while we're tacking this bar down. So the Beckett bend, look at this, okay? I'll show you this Beckett bend. We talked about it on the whiteboard the other day. You can review that stream. But here is our Beckett bend off to the right at about the 3 o'clock position on this pin. Here it is off to the right, a little past the 3 o'clock position, okay? Now I'm going to turn these. Oh, I need to clean off my camera lens. It's dirty. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to rotate these till that becket bend is down at the 6 o'clock position. Okay. So I'm just going to grab my tuning hammer, and I might as well start with this one that's way loose just to help it not fall off. Holy cow, that's tight. But that's what I want with a new pin block. This will smooth out really nicely over time. I mean, I want this thing to last years and years and years and years and years, right? Decades, decades. So I want it to be tight. Okay, so now we're over the bar here, but the things are still loose, right? But that's fine. I'm going to turn them now to the 9 o'clock position, the becket bends, okay? There's that one to 9, and here's this one to 9. Now, look at this. I'm going to take some time to instruct here tonight, so thanks for joining. I'm gonna hopefully it'll be worth it to you. All right, now the becket bends are off at the 9 o'clock position, but they're kind of hanging out, right? And it's getting kind of tight. I don't want to create a secondary bend there, so I'm going to crimp those in. Okay, now I need to be careful here because I normally do this with 2 hands so that I don't ding anything up. But I'm going to go here, and let me see if I can get this. See, it's hanging out, and I'm going to crimp this in. Whoop! It popped in there tight. Okay, do the same on this here. Whoop! Okay, good. And because it's at the 9, it's tight enough that those usually will stay pretty well. If you have them too loose, it does no good to crimp it at that point. Okay? Now what we're going to do is I want the coils to be up high where I want up high and tight. All right? So now I'm going to start tightening. I can't tell which one of these strings is tighter right now. There's no tone to it. Oh, this one has a little bit. Ding, ding, ding. Almost, okay. But I'm just going to, whatever. I'm going to do the first one. Actually, I'm going to do the left one first. No, the right one first. And I'm just going to hold the coil up gently with my tool. And I'm going to tighten until I look back here until I see that wire start to straighten out. As soon as that wire straightens out, I'm going to stop. And then I'm going to go to the other one because it's still loose enough for me to lift that one gently, and I'm going to do the same thing, okay? Just pull it until it's just tight. Now what we have, so the coils at this point, you know, are they loose enough? Are they tight enough? I don't know. They should stay. Let me show you. So right now the coils, they're not like super tight yet or anything, or like, you know, tight together yet, because it's too loose. But they're pretty consistent, and they're lifted kind of high, okay? Now, let me show you. Look, one of those, the first one I rotated, went to this position where the becket bend's up there. This one went a little bit further, almost to 12 o'clock, okay? So I'm going to see what pitch they're at, okay? The left one's still a nondescript pitch, and the right one is barely a pitch. So the right one, in this case, the right one is tighter, okay? Now I'm going to tighten the tighter of the two to take up some of the slack on the left one, on the looser one, so that then when I tighten that one, I have more of a chance of those becket bends being equal, okay? So here I go. I'm going to tighten this one. I'm still way below pitch, okay? I'm going to go almost all the way up to pitch here. Not quite, though. So I'm going to start to put my bar where I think it is. Now that this is tight enough, I'm sliding my bar while I can still slide it. And I've got to go where I can catch all of these strings, but still be at the right pitch, okay? I'm guessing we're going to be about right there. But here's the pitch of my right string. Still way below pitch, okay? And it's at about like 1 o'clock. And this other one's like at 11. Let's see if we can, I don't think that was enough to match them. I'm going to go further with the right. And I'm going to tune the right even tighter. And that'll take some more of the slack out of the left one, okay? Okay. I think at this point, just about a little tighter. Okay, now at this point, I'm going to tighten the left one also. Oh, look. I went overboard with it. Okay. So I kept tightening this one thinking, oh, this one's so loose. I'm gonna go past where I want, but I went overboard. This one's over rotated. That one's under when they're at the same pitch. Now, first, before I do anything, I'm gonna tighten this one all the way up to pitch. Okay, the left one now. And how do I know what pitch is? I can pull the phone out of my app, you know. Yeah, but let's see what we're at. I'm just going to go play C on this other piano over here. Okay, it's way up there. So we're still like not there yet. Okay, now we're finally there. And look, I'll show you what we ended up with. Now the Beckett bends are in the same position, but this one's up at pitch and this one's low of pitch, so this would rotate further. So I need to take some slack from this one, okay? So what I need to do is, and I normally just do this intuitively, I don't think about it. Let me think about it for a sec. So this one's up to pitch, this one's lower, they're both at the same rotation. So what I do is I'm tightening this to pitch. To correct that is I'm going to loosen this one I'm going to loosen this one a bit and tighten this one, because when I loosen this one, the pitch will drop, so I'll need to turn it further to get to pitch, and then I'll retighten this one. So they'll both be rotated a little bit more, but equal, okay? So let me attempt that. And for this, I use my coil lifter to hold it. So listen to this pitch on the left string. And here's the right. Ma, ma, na, 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 na. Okay, now I'm going to loosen this left pin. But hold the coil up. Now listen to the left. It went way down, right? So I'm going to go ahead and tighten that. Now I tightened it a little bit. Now I'm going to retighten the right one while I hold the coil, okay? But I overdid it again. I can do the same thing on this one. I just need to be smart, you know, when I'm not talking through it. So now I'm going to loosen the other one and retighten a little bit. So now if I tighten these to the same pitch, or roughly the same pitch, we're getting closer, and probably honestly close enough. So now they're at the same, the Beckett bends are at the same position relatively. The pins are rotated the same and the pitch is really close, okay? If I pluck it, you know, by a half step. Now if I go further, this is going to rotate even more, right? So I can loosen this one again just a little bit, give some length to the right side, and then retighten, okay? And I'm going to do that just a tiny bit, just to show you that it's possible. To be honest, I may not fuss that much if I was stringing the piano. But I'm going to pluck the right one. Now that right one went down. Okay. Okay, now they're at the same pitch. They're at the same pitch and the same rotation. You see that? So you can rob from the rich and give to the poor. Now I'm gonna I'm gonna go ahead and, before I tune this all the way up, I'm gonna space the strings out the way I want them, or close to the way I want them in the end. Okay. And I want a straight line from the bridge to the tuning pin there. And these are the same pitch, but they're low of C. I'm going to go ahead and put on. I don't know if you can hear this. Tell me if you can hear this. If you can hear this, that would be great. But look, I pluck the speaking length, then I pluck the rear duplex. It's like da 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 da, but an octave apart, right? So this is too sharp. So probably the problem at this point is this length is too short. So this bar probably has to go back this way to tune it, okay? I'm going to go ahead and try and push that bar back to tune it while the string's not all the way up to pitch, okay? It is pretty tight. Sometimes I might need to loosen these a little bit. I don't want the coils to drop, but I'm going to loosen them just a little bit, both of them. And that'll preserve what we just did. We won't lose out on that, you know. So now I'm going to push that backwards away from me. Okay, because it was quite sharp. Ugh, okay. So now now I'm going to tighten these up. I'm going to tighten the higher pitch first a little bit. Now listen, that really sounds close to an octave, okay? So I'm going to pluck the speaking length and then pluck this. Really close to an octave. Both of them. That's what we want, okay? Now this might move around, so we have to be diligent, but this is where we want this tune. Now we're going to stick in the other side to try and clamp that down and preserve that tuning. Okay, so now I'm going to get size 14.5 out here. So getting this initially set up with the Steinways with this rear duplex takes a little bit of time to tack those bars, but then once they're down, it goes pretty quick. So let's get 14.5 out for the other side of that. And I like to tune all the duplex bars first. And now my experience is that, you can help me think through this. My experience has been that as you put strings on this bar and tighten them, it's going to want to pull the bar that way. So it might not be a bad idea, if I really want this to be as close as I can, to make this even a little bit flat. But I don't know that I can because there's a pin here where it's almost hitting. Let's just see where the other string goes, and we'll just make decisions from there. So I'm going to make another wire of 14.5 here for this other side. Now, this one has to be a single tie because there's an odd number of notes, okay? So really this one is different than a shared string. I'm just going to cut this with plenty of excess. And then I'm going to make a loop. I'm going to make a loop here this way. I'm going to put this tool about here, and I'm going to go around this side. And then I have a little thing that I made here with a hole and a screw. So if I put this wire through this little jig here down through the top, then I can grab this and start turning this around the wire. That was a dud. That didn't work out. Got to start over. My wire was acting weird. So look, it happens. And I've done a lot of these. A lot. Okay, so I'm just going to do that again. Just make my loop right there. Bring this down. Then turn this around the straight part of the wire here. So that screw will help me make my rotations there. I'm going to do about 4 twists, okay? Then I end up with something like that. I'm going to go ahead and trim that, okay? And sure, why not? I'll keep it a little long. We'll keep it a little long there. So this is going to loop around the hitch pin now on this side. And that's how you do the single strings. And I'll get it on the bridge here. Now I'm gonna kind of do the same thing, basically the same idea, except these knots, these single knots tighten up a little bit more. So I'm gonna make my mark a little bit shorter, just a tiny bit. And that's just a guess. And if it's not right, it's not a big deal functionally or anything, right? This is just me trying to get the stringing to look really professional. Okay, go ahead and put a tuning pin on there and coil that. The wire needs to protrude all the way through that hole. Okay, I've got 3 coils on there. Then I need to make sure this stays on while I pound it in. So I'm going to put my bean bag down. I'm going to go ahead and drive this in. The way I do my coils, when I pull that, it's quite tight, so it's less likely to come out. Okay. Drive the pin into where the thread's about the top of the plate. And I'm going to go ahead and just rough tighten it till the becket bend's almost at 9 o'clock. This one I'm not going to go right to 9 because I got the plate strut and I don't want my tool to hit that. So I'll go just shy of that and I'll crimp that bend in there nice and tight, and then we'll carry on here. And I don't need to do any monkeying with the other, with the other string because there is no other string, right? It's just a single string. So all I have to do with this one is just tighten it up. Just tight enough where the coil will stay, okay? That's good enough to start. Now I'm gonna pull this up tighter to pitch. I can tell this isn't at pitch because it sounds like a gong or something, right? It's not a clear tone. I can tell we're far from pitch. Still far. That's getting a little more clear, but I know we're really low still. Now that sounds sharp to me a little bit, but there's not a lot I can do about that because this pin here is limiting the whole bar from going back further. Now usually what I'll do is I'll have like a little piano app on my phone and I'll listen to that over the loudspeaker to know what pitch that is. I'm going to just go on this piano and guess this. So we need 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 17 notes down from the top. Okay, so we want to hear what it's going to be at actual pitch. Yeah, so this does sound a little sharp to me, but again, there's nothing I can do. This is already butted up against this hitch pin. That's as good as we get. So I'm going to look at my left and right. I want about an equal distance from the wire to the edge. From the wire to the edge, I'm going to get behind, and I'm going to look at my hills here on this bar and see if they more or less line up with the pins where I have them. And they get a little funky right here. They get a little bit that way. But I don't want to go any further this way or this wire will fall off this hill. So actually, if this is a little bit sharp, this hill right here on this side is like angled a little bit. If I pry this bar over that way a little bit, the tuning might be a little bit better and my alignment will be just a little bit, no, it won't be better. I'm going to leave it as is because that would make it worse. So I think maybe I'll pry just a tiny bit when I say pry, I mean I'm just gonna just like take a wedge here and just with a screwdriver, just a little bit. I just went a tiny bit over. I pried the whole bar, it slid, okay? And that's still fine. So I think that's where we want that bar, but I'm gonna have to kind of watch it if I really care. You know, and honestly, I'm to the conclusion that it doesn't matter that it's perfectly tuned. But you know, I think it was designed with that in mind, so I'll try my best, right? So I get to use another 14.5 to tack this next one down. I'll grab that. Grab the 14.5 and cut it. This one is a shared string, so we will make it that. Just bend it in half, let the natural curvature lead me up, and I crimp it here. I'm going to put this underneath, and I'm just going to slide the bar as far to the right as I can. Now look, here's a tricky thing. Like where the bridge is and the plate, it's like, whoa, how do I get that in there? But I will. All right. Okay, so I got one side in that's underneath the bar. That's a little tricky. Might as well knock that out now, right? Okay, now this has to go around this pin. So I'm gonna try and slide my bar underneath. It's gonna fall off one side. That's okay. When I measure, it's all right. It's good enough. And I'll back that all the way up. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and measure and cut. I'm gonna pull it tight. I use my whole body weight as I'm pulling this back to pull again, so it's quite tight. Usually when someone does this for the first time and I'm with them, it appears they're doing exactly what I'm doing, and the pins end up rotated a lot further in the end, and that's why. Which, that's fine if you don't want to pull as hard. It's just not going to be as consistent. You know, big deal. You'll be fine. Whatever you want to do is fine. Okay, here we're going to coil this. And get another one and coil that. Okay, we have to cross them so that they're in the right path. And I'm going to go ahead and drive this in. So when I'm doing a whole lot of that, I just wear ear protection because it's pretty bad over at the same time. Okay, so about the same thing, you know, they're almost at the 6 o'clock position, not quite. And but I'm going to go ahead and tighten these to the 9 o'clock. Okay. And crimp them in. So here we're going through the whole process with each string as we're tacking this bar down. But after that, I kind of do a different approach if you've seen me do it before. I'm going to go ahead and tighten the left one first because it's definitely on this duplex bar, whereas the right one's going to have a hard time. I'm going to have to pull that right one on there. So I'm going to tighten the left while lifting the coil gently, just until this string starts to straighten. Oop, right there. And I'm about at the 11 o'clock, 10:30, 11 o'clock. Now I'll tighten the other one. And I don't care what the bar does really at this point. Okay, and I'll get these at the same rotation. Now, I can attempt, let me go get a tool that someone took off my pallet. When I very first started working with the piano, someone told me how to make this tool out of a bass string. It's a string hook. And you just put like a tube for comfort there. Anyway, I love this tool to try and pull the wire up onto our duplex bar. May or may not be successful at that. Here, we're really right on the plate at this point. It's kind of tricky. Kind of a tricky spot there. So let's do this. Let's go. Lift that up a bit and try and slide my bar underneath it. Let's try. Let's keep trying. If at first you don't succeed. You know, I'm always trying to balance that statement with what people say is the definition for insanity, right? Doing the same thing and expecting different results, but okay. Now I've got that bar on top of this. I've got it on top. Will it stay there? I don't know. I don't know if it will, but we're gonna do our best. Okay, so we're gonna listen to the pitch. I'm gonna tighten the higher one, the one that's higher in pitch first, just, and then the other one up to that same position. Okay, that's pretty close. Now let's listen to our duplex bar here. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and tack. So we're still a third low, right? And this one's not going to ring because of the plate. It's right up against the plate on this piano. I am going to tack the other one on first, tighten them both up, then give a listen. No, I'll just do the same what I did before. I'll tighten these up a little more. So I'm going to tighten the higher one first. You know. That's really close with what we want, actually. So that sounds good to me. When I pushed this down, it went a little sharper because it made it a little more tension, which is fine because remember it's going to pull down. So let's go ahead and tack the other one on and see. Now what we're listening for is like an octave or an octave and a fifth or any said consonant interval that will work. Right? Something like that. Okay. Takes a little practice maybe hearing those, but trust me, that one's good enough as far as I can tell so far. So now I need to get size 16 out. I told you this is a little bit of a challenge with the Steinways, tacking these bars down first. But then once you've done the hard part, then it pays off in the end. Okay, here is size 16. Sweet 16. All right, let's measure out the wire for this one. Get this guy out of my way right now. Okay. The bend is going to be past the coils, just about to the edge of there. The other end is going to go just about an inch past where the hitch pins are here. And we just cut those even. And it's got a curve to it. We just follow that curve all the way up to the top, crimp it and pinch it tight. Make it a nice defined bend right there, okay? I'll go ahead and throw you on this side. so you can see a little better what we're doing here. Okay, we're gonna go here, and here we have a little more room with the plate. We're gonna go right there, and then onto the hitch pin. Okay, I don't want my wire over 2 hitch pins, just 1, so I'm gonna correct that. Now I know my bar is not far enough yet to get both strings on it. Well, I'll try and pull it up here and do that. Yeah, that worked. Okay. So now I'm going to go ahead and measure the right string, mark it, then the left, then our coil. One, two, three. 1, 2, 3. One, two, three. Okay, I'll drive these in here. Doesn't matter if that flies away. Okay, that's about right for what I want, height-wise. Okay. I'm going to turn, right now the Beckett bends are at 6. I'm going to turn them both to 9, just about. They're plenty loose, but I had to check because the tuning pins are very tight, as you would expect in a new block that we just drilled last night, right? Okay. Beautiful. I'm going to crimp the Beckett bends in. Doesn't take much. Now, I'm going to, now I can tell visually that the left one is a little more slack than the right, I think. So I'm going to go ahead and tighten the right one first. I'm just going to tighten it until I see the wire tighten on the back of this. And start to pull that other one through. But you'll find after doing it, they'll kind of, there's going to be a magic position where it's tight enough to keep the coil up high where you held it. But you don't tighten too far so that when you tighten the other one, they're about the same pitch. Okay, that's pretty close, you know. I can kind of do some rough alignment. Okay, so at this point, I'm gonna tighten the tighter of the two first. Let's see here. Now I can move this bar back because it's going to have to go back, I can tell with the alignment. So now I can go. Okay, I'm going to need to go more. They're both roughly at the same position. It's good enough for me right now. I'm just tuning the duplex bar. Okay. Let's go find out what pitch that should be at. Again, that's 17 notes in that section. I'm going to go play my other piano here. So roughly, it's going to be an E flat. Now because I tightened the tighter string first, I ended up at exactly the same position basically. It's a little sharp. Can you hear that? Sharp of that octave. I'll bring the camera close And I'll show you here what I'm plucking. Okay, I'm plucking here in the speaking knife. Now over here. Da, 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 da. How about the other string? They're both sharp. So that would confirm probably, I say probably because probably you need a longer string to make a lower note, but there comes a point where you create more tension on it because you're really close to this pin. When you create more tension, then the pitch goes up and it does the backwards of what you'd expect. But I think in this case, we push this side of the bar back a little bit, okay? And we're still gonna check the other side again. We'll double check this, this right side. But I'm gonna push the bar back or pull it towards me a little bit. And that'll help with the alignment too, I think. Maybe that won't actually. Let's listen to this one again. That's still the same as what it was. So I want to push. Let's see what happens if I push the whole thing back just a tiny bit if I can. Let's see. That's closer in the tuning, but I have to look at my alignment. This next string has to straddle these two bars, and the others will work out pretty well actually. I'm following through. I'm looking to see, okay, where does it need to straddle the bar? Where does it share one? It's pretty darn good. It's pretty darn good. I'm going to leave it at that. Now, this doesn't always work perfectly, this rear duplex. Sometimes the wires don't travel perfectly on these hills. Sometimes they get a little bit to the side. If I shove this forward so that it'll be better aligned that way, I have to shove it that way. So one of them sounds better. The other one's really sharp. Right? So, I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to leave it right there because if I monkey with it, I'm going to go in between where we just were. If I monkey with it any more than that, it hurts us on our side to side. You kind of have to give side to side alignment the priority, be over tuning. The cross strings are in tune with each other. There, it's actually pretty in tune. So that's good. We're going to leave that one there. And I'll go ahead now, before I forget, I'm going to crimp. These are roughly to pitch, right? I'm going to re-crimp the Beckett bend. That's what I always do after I tune the string up to pitch the first time. Because if you don't do it now, it won't go in deeper later. And this will help with the stability, okay? It'll get rid of some excess slack in there. Okay, so now we need to do one more bar. And we need size 16 again, which is handy. So I'm going to get a 16 string for the first string of this tenor bar. Are you digging this, or is it just like, meh? I don't know. It's kind of essential to know if you're going to string a Steinway. Just kind of know your way around a little bit. So, okay. How do I measure this? The bend goes there. The end goes about an inch past, and it's like loose. I'm not pulling it really tight, right? I'm just keeping it kind of loose. That's good enough. I'm going to cut the end. But you know what? I made a big mistake. And now it's all making sense. I made a big mistake. I mean, it's not that big a mistake, but it's a big mistake. Okay, right here, look. 16. How many notes is 16? It starts right here. 1, 2, 3. I have an odd number of notes, right? And I did these first two pins. That's great. but I stuck them through the wrong pins on the bridge. That's why the alignment's seeming weird to me. So I got to loosen those. I'll do that in a sec though. Let me first bend this wire. I mean, all's not lost. It's not a big deal. The pin block's plenty tight. It can afford to be loosened and retightened like a time or two, you know, without too big a deal, okay? But you saw it first here. I made a mistake. And as you know, it will not be the last. But you just try and make mistakes that aren't that big a deal, right? So I'm just going to loosen this enough, probably back all the way to the Beckett bend being at 6 o'clock, which is really only like a little bit past half a turn. Okay. I need it loose enough so I can walk these wires over to the correct bridge pins. Because the first note, the last note on that bar is going to be a single one because there's an odd number of notes with that size wire, right? Now, it's not going to affect our measurement that much, just that little deviation right there. Not so big a deal, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and turn these, like I just do the process again, turn them to 9 o'clock. I've already crimped them in, so they behave pretty well that way. The left one looks a little looser than the right, so I'm going to tighten the right one first, just until it starts to tighten there. Then I'm going to tighten the left one up to that same rotation where the Beckett bends are the same, and then listen to the pitch. Okay, the left one's way looser, right? So now I know with my bar now, I need to actually go way over here actually with this, which is going to whack, my tuning's going to be crazy. But that's the way it's going to be. But then my note alignment will make a whole lot more sense now. Okay. So I'm going to pull the higher one up first, just a little bit. Maybe even a little bit more. I just went a little too far, so I'll back this one out again and then retighten. There, now they're the same. There's no way I'm going to get that tuning right. I've got to loosen these. I'm going to push the whole bar back, and I think we'll end up with the consonant interval that we like, okay? So I'm going to loosen these a bit. Just to 12 o'clock. I don't want the coils to fall. Same thing here to 12. And when you do the same thing to both, it doesn't mess it up that bad. Okay, I'm going to push this back again. Actually, I think we started further back, honestly. Okay, I got to pull this wire onto the bar again. I was so excited. I was like, oh yeah, we nailed that one. We got that one, but nope. Okay, we're back on the bar. There, on that one that's tricky to get on the bar. And so we've got it just about as far back as this hitch pin will allow us to. Okay, just about. So I'm going to retighten these. And I'll worry about the coils later on this one. Okay, I'll tighten the... just tighten them together, kind of little by little. Okay. Push that back further. Okay, we'll tighten these down here. Okay, that's good. Let's listen to the tuning. One of them's not right. One of them sounds more right. Right? I think we're going to have to be happy with that, honestly. Don't think we can do... Oh! All right, Hiram. Excuse me while I put my brain on. I have to do a new wire. Because I'm on the wrong hitch pin. That's why we're having all these issues. But that's no big deal. We're going to back the pins out about to the... till the becket bends at 6. Okay. Then I'm going to pull these wires off with the... I like to do it with some these little teeny round nose. Just going to carefully pull that off the pin. We can still use these pins fine. We don't need to pull those pins out, my goodness. They're just fine. We don't want to compromise the tightness in the block, but we need to do a new wire because I'm on the wrong hitch pin. So we're going to do a single wire like we should have done in the first place. And then, lo and behold, our tuning might work out a little better, okay? You try and do this while filming, right? Yeah. Okay, let's confirm our size. It is 16, and we want to make a single loop. So we'll cut this. We can stick it through our little jig here. Then I use these awesome round nose, and I'm going to bend with it. I'm going to kind of want to bend with the curvature here a little bit. I'm trying to show you and try and do it right at the same time. It's a little tricky. Okay, let's try this. Let's try this. All right. Bend it. Don't bend it till it's like 90 degrees across the other wire. Bend it till it looks like a ribbon, like a breast cancer ribbon or a support our troops ribbon, that kind of thing. Okay, I'm going to turn this 1. I'm going to wind it around the wire 2, 3, 4. Okay, that looks good. Bend that a little bit further than I went. There we go. And then we're going to cut the tag there. Okay. Now we've got our single loop. That's what we needed. These single loops, I tell you what. Let's try this again. With a fresh set of downs. Okay. I'm going to walk this this tag right over that hitch pin so that it'll go in the right spot. And that's fine. That's fine. It'll work out fine. All right. What am I going to do next? I'm going to measure, right? So I'm going to pull this tight. The string's in the correct path. I'm going to pay attention to what I'm doing. I'm going to mark it with my dry erase. Measure it with my tool. I made this tool, by the way. This is something I'm proud of. It actually works, you know, and it's useful. Okay. Okay, now we get a pin, we'll coil it. And this will all get sorted out as we continue. 2, 3. All right, let's drive that in. Good. Okay, we're going to tighten it to the 9 and pinch the becket bend in tighter to the pin. Now all we have to do is lift the coil and tighten this. I don't want to tighten it all the way. I just want to get most of the way. Go a little tighter than that. Okay, we'll put that behind, I think. Yeah, we'll put that one behind. this says we can go back, and and the spacing says that too, right? We'll go a little further. Now look, this is hitting this hitch pin. Interesting. I've never had that on the Steinways. I mean, it's kind of working out kind of nice on this piano. This is an older piano, and it's like when this bar is back as far as it can go against that hitch pin, it's correct. It's almost like they did that on purpose. But I've never noticed that on other pianos. I mean, it has to go there. There's nowhere else it can go. And it gets closer the closer we get up to pitch. I'm gonna go play an E flat and tune it up to the E flat. A whole fourth. We get to go up a whole fourth from here. If I make the tuning perfect, that's pivoting the bar down here. But I want to make it a little bit flatter, because everything's going to pull down this way. And I need room for 2 wires to fit on this hump. There's no way that's going to happen. This is where I say you have to prioritize the left and right alignment over the tuning. So it has to go back. There's just no other way around it. We can go about right there maybe, and we'll still be okay. I'm just looking at the way things are going to line up. Unfortunately, it's not in tune, but you have to put it there, okay? And lo and behold, who knows? Maybe once everything's tight and this is down, who knows? It might sound a little different. Oops. Went too far. Okay, we're going to put there. And that's my story. That's the end. I'm going to leave it there. Okay. Next one. This next one is not a single string. It's shared for real. So we'll take this one and we'll get back to where we were and start putting this one on. So this one has an A graph, right? How do I deal with that? Well, I'm going to stick my index finger in between the middle of these 2 wires so I know which one's the right and the left. And it's right and left because I want the curvature, natural curvature of the spool to be down, okay? So I stick my finger in there, run my hand down, and I know my right from my left, okay? Hopefully. Now I'm going to stick the right string in the rightmost hole and poke it through, and then the middle one, the left string in the middle hole, and poke it through. Now I'm going to pull this all the way back until the curvature can be down again, and it kind of sorts itself out. You'll know what I'm talking about if you try it. It'll seem kind of like twisted, and then you pull back to a certain point, and then it seems like, oh, now it's laid flat at rest. So now we need to get this crazy task of getting this under the bridge here, or the plate strut. Let's see how we're going to do this. Okay. First I'm going to get it around the hitch pin, and so I've got it, it's all right except for the one that's right underneath. I have to pull it up and over that other bridge pin. The one that you can't see that's closest to us. There we go. That's fine. Okay, now I'm going to try and pull this up over the bar and have the bar be just about as far as we can go that way. Same thing, kind of what we did before. But it's not going to do it for us. So I might as well just not bother right now. Wait till it's tighter. Okay. So I'll pull these tight. And I'm going to measure them. Make sure you measure to the correct hole. That can be a challenge. To just kind of get used to the patterns. And then it's not a challenge anymore. Okay, we're measuring and cutting, measuring and cutting. Just like on a piano keyboard, when you learn to play piano, you see the patterns, 3 blacks, 2 blacks, 3 blacks, 2 blacks, and the whites in between, right? And you see the same thing on the piano without any strings or notes. Keyboard, you see, okay, it's a line of 3 pins as a note, a line of 3 pins as a note, a line of 3 pins as a note. A set of 3 pins here is a note, 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 right? Each of one of these little squares is a note. You kind of get used to that. And then you get used to, okay, this hitch pin is going to be, both of the strings are going to be on this hill. And then this hitch pin, one of the strings is going to be on this hill, one is going to be on that hill. You know, you just kind of get used to it. Okay, so now drive these in. Okay, move this bar over. I'm not even, like I said, I'm not going to even attempt to get both those strings on the bar there until they're tighter, because it won't stay on. It's too curved. All right, I'll crimp the Beckett pens in. They're at the 9 o'clock position. I'll crimp them in. Now I'm going to lift the right string here gently and tighten until the back length starts to straighten. Usually until about the 10 o'clock position of the Beckett pen. And I'm going to tighten the other one to the 10 o'clock position. And then I'm going to give them a listen. Alright, the left one's way more loose, right? Especially considering we're not on the bar here. That'll tighten up the right one even more. Okay, I got that. I just pulled it up and moved the bar over. The bar's there now. I'm going to move the bar back. As far as I dare. Now I'm going to tighten the one that has a higher pitch first. You could go a half step, but this is that string has already fallen a half step. So this one you might as well tune to the same pitch as you did and you'll be close. There, they're both at the same position, same rotation. They're both at the same rotation with the Beckett pen. Let's listen to the duplex. Ba-da-da. It's like, I want it to be ba, I want it to be da-da-da. It's a half step flat, right? So let's see if we make this length shorter, if we can make it match like an octave. Okay, I'm just gonna move the bar, slide it along carefully. That's too sharp now. I'm going to go play a D and tune it to an actual D because it changes like exponentially the relationship as you get it up to pitch. So we had it correct before. Okay, now it's way sharp, so I went way overboard with that. It's a little sharp yet, but we're better. Getting closer. Still sharp. I'm going to loosen up just a little bit to allow me to move the bar just a little with a little more ease. Okay, now I need to bring it back up to pitch. It's a little tiny bit flat. But I'm going to leave it there because the bar is going to creep this way, remember? One string on either side is not enough to keep that bar in place. Okay, perfect. That's exactly what we want. I'm going to go ahead and crimp the becket bend in. All right, and then we're going to move on to the other side of this bar, and we have to figure out what note that is, right? So each one of those hills on the bar is a note. Okay, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and then this one's like shared, it gets long and weird. So there's 12, and then each one of these squares is a note, right? 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So these three correspond with that, and then this one's like a half. But we're going to tune off of these lower ones, you know, which never really works. You can never really get them in tune, but we're going to do it anyway, I guess. Okay, so that's note number 12, but let's confirm that. 1, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Okay, we're going to do the two left holes on note number 12 in from the side. Okay, so here we go. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. It's size 17, and it's going to be this hole and this hole. Double confirm that. 8, 10, 12. Yeah. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. And that's what note it is, okay? I'm just kind of walking through it slow for you here. We want size 17. Don't worry, I normally go through this part a lot faster, but I'm talking through everything, so you gotta cut me some slack there. Here, we need this. Okay, should be long enough. Okay, natural curvature of the string. Run my hand up it, make a crimp, and then make a tight crimp like that by holding this my other hand and pinching it. All right, this is an A graph, so we needs to I'm gonna put it through the appropriate A graph. 2, 4, 8, 10, 12. The two left holes of this one. Okay, so I'm gonna keep my left and my right straight. We'll put this through. Double confirm the number. 2, 4, 6, 10, 12. Yes. Okay. Pull this through. You pull this back until it kind of sorts itself out. Now I believe we're going here, but I'm going to double check that because the pins are a little more tricky, right? Because that follows how many strings there are. And if you had any single ties, that would be even, a little more complicated. So follow with me this pin pattern, okay, in the back there, okay? So this pin goes on the left side of this hump. And there's two. The next pin is going to have one string on that hump and one on this one. And then this pin is going to have two on this hump. This pin's going to have two on this hump. This pin's going to share. This pin's going to have two. 2 shared 2. 2 shared 2. 2 shared 2. 2 shared 2. So this is the correct pin, and it should be on the right side of this hill. And so we've got everything in the right spot. Okay. And we just confirmed it in every way. We need the right A graph, we need the right tuning pin holes, we need the right bridge pins, we need the right hitch pin. Okay, we need all that to be correct, or it's not correct. Now I didn't do here what I normally do, which is I'll put a rag here to keep this clean because this wire does have some oils on it. 6, 8, 10, 12. I'm making sure again that I measure to the correct hole here. Because if you don't, you gotta do it again. Gotta make a new one. Okay, so we're doing the middle hole and the left hole of that note. Go ahead and cut these. Okay, we're gonna coil them. One, two, three. When I count, it's when the crank handle goes in the down position. How many times it goes down there, okay? So it's like, I start here, the side by me, and then I go 1, 2, 3, and then stop. Why does that matter? It creates a certain tension that helps things stay tight enough after you drive the pins in, okay? And it's a good, I mean, after lots of working with string and pianos, that works well for me, okay? I'm gonna back this up for you. So, pull this back and drive it. Now we can easily hit these pins in deeper later, but we can't pull them out as easily. So I want to be high if anything. If anything. Okay. Good deal. We'll just sit that down there. Okay. These are, the Beckett bends are roughly at 6 o'clock. We're going to turn them to the 9 o'clock position. Okay. And I kind of tend to follow the fan of the strings more. Now, at that point, I want to crimp the Beckett bend in. Crimp, crimp. Now let's listen to the pitch. Ba, 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 ba. So the right one's higher. All these, the right one has been higher. Do you notice that? It's just like the way it goes, I guess. So I'm going to pull up that right one first, just until the back starts to tighten, right there. And that's about at 9, that's about at 10 o'clock on the clock where the Beckett bend is. So I'm going to rotate the other one to 10 o'clock, or a little bit past, and then I'll match them up and then listen to them. Whoa, can it be? We have the same pitch. Look at that, it worked on one finally. But once I get cruising, I get, like, they're correct most of the time. Now this wire's not quite tight enough yet to sit on that hill. I'm going to try and scoot the hill over a little bit. Okay, we'll tune this up to pitch, or close to it. So I just want to go a little, when they're both the same, you just want to go little by little, and then you want to go past. Then you want to go past. They're at the same rotation. I want to see where we are pitch-wise, okay? So if I go down 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 notes from that edge, I don't know what note it is, I'll see. It's E flat. It should be an E flat, okay? That's the pitch. Roughly. I mean, that piano is probably a little sharp still. I'm not sure though. Now, as I look at this now, I'll show you here. The A graph is not quite rotated to 90 degrees of the string plane. You can't see that from there. I'm gonna put it right on top. The A graph is not, it's not 90 degrees. So I can adjust that a little bit, okay? And that's normal that we would do this at this point. Now, I do need it tight enough for sure. So I can't fudge that way, but I can fudge a little looser sometimes without a problem, okay? So, yeah, it's still plenty tight. So now I'm gonna find my correct angle of the wire right there, and I can adjust the others around it to kind of match that, okay? Okay, so now, and I'll change these others once we get down to this section. You know, I'll check that from time to time and kind of realign just a little bit as needed. But let me show you what it looks like now when it's perpendicular. Okay, so the top of the A graph now is basically perpendicular to the path of the strings, right? Maybe a little bit under rotated, tiny bit, but it's hard to do like tiny things like that. You just have to almost like think that you're turning it and it'll turn a little bit. Okay, not quite. All right, let's go with that. No, that's still the same. See what I mean? It's hard to turn it because it's kind of tight, right? I still feel like I didn't do anything. Then I overdid it. No, that's right there. I think I like that. No, I don't. Okay, there we go. That's where it's correct. I think the camera just makes it look weird, but that's perpendicular, okay? So you just check that as you go. And if an A graph, if you find, oh, this is too loose, it's scaring you, you gotta cut it or whatever, wash or whatever you have to do to get it in the right position and tight. Okay, let's listen to the tuning here now. And when I say tuning, I mean the tuning of the rear duplex, right? Relative to the speaking leg. So it's flat, right? Now, you might think on this one that if I make it shorter, it would be sharper. But it doesn't work that way because the tension is so much more dynamic here that we're putting. So if I want to make it sharper, I'm going to actually pivot it back a little bit towards me. I'm going to pull the bar towards me. That one's closer, but still not great. Let me go a little further. That's as far as I can go. Okay, so at that point though, because of making it longer, the pitch, they balance each other a little bit. Like if I go further away, so that's a little sharp, so I'm going to pull it, straighten the wire out, see what we got then. It's flat again. I mean, you're not going to really get this one, okay? So you mostly look for the side to side, like I said. That's as close as we're going to get on that. It's flat, right? But just deal with it because look, the wire there has to be a wire that fits in between here and here, and then the side to side. This has to be shared between these two hunts. Together, shared, together, shared, together, shared. So this is right. This is about what we can do. Would you like me to put the camera right on top of that? You can kind of see what I'm seeing a little bit. So when you look from the back, you kind of look at these pins. Okay, so this one's 2 strings. And then you're going to have one string that the right side has to go on this one and the left side has to go on this one. And that's kind of, it looks like they're both almost going to go on this one, right? The string is going to be very close to this edge. And that happens. And then this one is going to be 2 strings right there. And it's going to go all the way up there, right? And then this one's going to be 2 strings and then a shared one. Okay. 2 shared, 2 shared, 2 shared, 2. Do you see that pattern? And then you can also kind of look at these groups of 3 pins on the bridge, the notes, and you can kind of see that they, follow more or less, align with that scale. Okay, so that's what it looks like. So we've kind of compromised as well as we can. I could shove the bar over that way, but that wasn't like helping the pitch any, I don't think. I could go a tiny bit further over. Let's see. like maybe like that or something. Maybe even a little bit more. So I thought I got the pitch on it a little bit higher by going that way, but it's a moot point. That let's go with the left to right alignment right there. And so there now, this looks a little bit better in terms of the right string coming off of this pin, going over here, and the left string coming off this pin and going there. And it should line up better all the way along. So I like that. So those are the things I'm considering. Left to right alignment takes precedence over tuning with these Steinway rear duplex things. And you know, honestly, look, here's the way I think about it. Those lengths are meant to vibrate sympathetically, which they will when there's a frequency that's close to their frequency that's activated on the piano, somewhere, anywhere on the piano. So it really, I mean, it really doesn't matter how they're tuned. They're going to bolster the sound a little bit. And that's their whole point, okay? Now, if someone can prove to me that tuning those perfectly like makes a huge, huge difference, Fazioli would be a good example. Each little one of those hills, you can tap them back and forth and tune them perfectly. And Fazioli's a great piano, has great sustain, but I don't know that that's the one deciding factor between an excellent piano sound and a not so great piano sound. I don't think it's the deciding factor. I think it might just add a certain character to the tone, okay? So that's my take on that. All right, so we got these bars tacked. We got the felt tacked. We're ready to go. We can start stringing to our heart's content, right? So we're gonna do that. Except I need a little Coke break here. Maybe while I take a sip of something here, I'll check the chat here if anyone has any questions, burning questions about what we've covered so far. By the way, I'm enjoying sharing this with you. I hope it's useful to you. Okay. One person says, amazing instruction. Thank you. Oh, good. Because this is really crappy instruction to me. I'm not taking, it's not been the focal point, but I guess tonight I've been a little more detailed. And it says, I hope the client appreciates the long hours you're putting into this. Yeah, I mean, it takes a long time to string a piano. That's why it costs so much. So, you know, I figure about 24 hours to string a piano, and that includes, you know, the prep, sometimes taking off the old strings, the prep, and then doing, you know, all the felt and all that, and then doing the new strings. The actual throwing the strings on part better not take 24 hours, right? Then I start to lose money, but and like I said, it goes a lot faster when I'm not instructing at the same time. So because I've done it a lot, you know, and speed comes not with trying to hurry up so much, and I find it comes from knowing really, really well what comes next. When you know really, really well, like it's just part of your DNA, what comes next, you're naturally going to be faster at a task, and it's not going to feel too fast. It's going to feel comfortable. So that's my spiel on that. Why do we say spiel? Doesn't spiel mean play in German? So I don't know why I would have a spiel. I have a play. I don't get it. If anyone can tell me where spiel comes from, like when we say that's my spiel. I lost viewers just now probably. But anyway, I just need a break here. So yeah, any burning questions, just fire them away. There's no stupid questions. I don't care how new you are at this. Doesn't matter to me a bit. I'm happy to share at whatever level you want to talk. So here's something interesting I'll show you while I'm kind of just taking a little break. Oh, here's a question. Can you tell the difference between a piano with a duplex scale by just listening to the sound? No, I can't. I don't think I really can. I feel like when I play them, if I had one or the other, this one is a little more lively. Because that one doesn't have a duplex scale, but it's still pretty good. So, well, actually, they had a duplex scale, the early ones, but it wasn't stepped. duplex scale. It was a continuous curve. So Steinway always allowed those to ring sympathetically. So that's probably why I'm saying I can't tell the difference. But yes, not if I just hear a recording. I don't think I could. I might notice, oh, that piano doesn't sound quite as live or as wet. It sounds a little more dry or choked. But some pianos will have felt woven across the whole back there, and that does kind of kill it for me, you know. So that's a great question. I feel like you know, the good piano sound, the good piano tone, is a collective of a lot of smaller things that collectively make a big difference when they're all doing what they should. And it's hard to say, well, I'm going to tweak just this one little tiny thing, and it's going to ruin the whole thing, or it's going to make the whole thing. That's very rare, you know, that you have an adjustment or a design element that, you know, would change a huge thing. I think if anything was closest to that, it would be the material of the soundboard, the wood of the soundboard. I think, as I've listened to a lot of pianos, I think high quality, tight grain spruce. Like if that's there could be all kinds of things wrong, and the piano would still, like, you know, be really enjoyable to listen to and play. I feel like. So let's see. Any other burning questions? Does preserving an old soundboard sound better than a new one? No. I should say, if the old soundboard is a high quality spruce of tight grain, and you can create what we call the crown on the soundboard, right? And it's whole, there's not cracks or anything like that, and it's acting really well, then that's going to be much better than a lower quality wood soundboard that would be replacing it. So yeah, I think in some cases then I guess if you could make the old one good, but how do you know, you're really limited because when that soundboard, there's ribs underneath the soundboard. The grain runs in one direction and the ribs run perpendicular to that underneath to provide stiffness. And when you glue that, or when you shape the ribs, or depending on what method you use, it creates that bowl, like diaphragm-like shape in the board. Now, if that's flattened over time and you have an old board, how are you going to restore that? And some people have said, oh, I'm going to restore the crown of the soundboard, like maybe a tiny bit by drying it out, filling cracks if there are any cracks, and then, you know, letting it take on moisture again. Yeah, maybe. And you can't take out the old board and re-rib it without destroying it. So a new board is the answer in a lot of cases, definitely. But sometimes I'm a little bit sad on the inside if I can't get, if I feel like I can't get the best quality board or as good a quality as what was originally there, but the availability is just less than what it used to be. So that's just the reality of it right now. That's a great question. Thanks for that question. Let's see, any other questions here? Would tapping the rear duplex with a brass rod help move it a little easier and more accurately? Well, if the strings are so tight that I can't move it with my hands, the reason why I do that is because if the strings are loose enough where I can move it right where I want with my hands, okay, it doesn't damage the paint on the plate. If it's so tight that I have to tap it, or even if it's loose and I tap it, there's more chance of digging into the paint and scratching it. So I prefer to do it this way. It's a lot cleaner on the Steinways. Now, some pianos have a metal sheet, and then their aliquots, or those raised hills, go on top of that sheet, like Fazioli, so you can bump them around, and it's not a big deal. But here, this is going directly on the paint. Okay, look at this. I mean, so you can see if someone's monkeying with tuning these and they've tightened these all the way and then tried to tap them around, I just think you do more harm than good. I don't think having it perfectly in tune. First of all, it's not going to happen. Every single note and every single string is not going to be perfectly in tune on these under any circumstance the way this is designed. I don't think that was the intent. I think the intent was to just get it closer to a defined consonant pitch, closer to what would resonate with the pitches on the piano. So I appreciate that question. That's a good one. I have tapped with brass, but it does more damage, so I've walked away from that. All right. Can I visually tell how good a soundboard will sound once installed? Not really. The stories in the playing of the piano, I feel like, or plucking even. You can pluck, you know, and you can get a feel for like. Now this is way low pitch, so we're not getting much sustain, and the board is not pressed down all the way, not loaded all the way. But even, you know, let's pretend this was a note higher up. It continues, and it has kind of a swell to it. Like a second kick that happens. So that's a really good way to tell a board. I mean, visually you could say like, oh, this is really tight grained spruce here. See that? See how tight that is? You could visually say like, wow, that's really great. And this is an original board, and we just put a new bridge cap on this one for the customer. In this case, I'm doing like, it's like wholesale work, right, for another technician. So I could tell like, oh, that's really good wood. But it doesn't mean the piano's going to sound good necessarily. I can't really tell that. Because something else could be botched in the setup of it that's choking it or something, I guess. Good question. Spiel. A long or fast speech or story, typically one intended as a means of persuasion or as an excuse, but regarded with skepticism or contempt by those who hear it. But what does that word have to do with the German word Spiel? Like, how did one come out of the other one? That I don't understand. Ponder that. Well, and we'll get to work here. Let me see where my phone battery is. Oh, I need to plug in. I don't need to stop this. I have a extension cord here. I don't need to stop the stream, but we'll get to work here. I'm going to plug the phone in so we don't die. And we are going to be stringing away here. Just another few sips of Coke. Thanks for those questions. I took my break with you this time. It was kind of enjoyable. Thanks for that. The gloves are coming on. Instead of coming off, they're coming on. All right. Now, I also have to make sure that I get some sleep tonight. But the night is young. The night is still young as far as with what I've got going on here. Okay, so I have 6 notes of 13. To determine how many shared strings you need, you multiply the number of notes by 1.5. 6 times 1.5 is, that's correct, it's 9. Look, I was about to measure a size 17 string for this 13. No. We need to reset. Go back to the correct size. So we're going to put a spool of 13 on here, and we're going to cut out 9 strings, right? Right. Okay. Now, I'm running low on some of my sizes on these spools, so inevitably I'm probably going to have to change a spool or two, but I have the wire. I just need to... Anyway, you don't care, but that's what's going to happen. Okay, here is size 13. Now, I think the fastest way to do this... Why am I always talking about fastest? Because we talked about how long this process takes if you're going to do a good job of it, right? So anything that doesn't really matter, that you don't have to stop and think about too hard, gosh, you need a fast process for it if you're going to make any money, right? Okay, so I'm going to cut 9 lengths about this long. I'm going to wind this up. This is the best way I found to do this. After I determine what the measurement is, I'm just going to let it unfold here. And then I'm going to pick an arbitrary point. Okay, it's this corner on this piano. Okay, so I'm going to pull... Oh, wait, actually, if I have this straight, it's actually going to be this corner. So I'm going to pull 9 strings to that corner, cut them and crimp them. Okay, cut, crimp, and for now I'm just going to put them over here. I think that'll be fine. And I measure from the longest note of the group that I'm measuring at that time. 2. And you don't have to be super, super exact as long as you're not too short. Music wire, maybe about, I figure on about $90 for a 5-pound coil. I figure about 5 pounds of wire goes on the piano. That may be an overestimate, but that's just what I do, and it works out. So, you know, it's not that expensive because a 5-pound coil goes a long ways. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You know, we get to do all kinds of fun math computations in our head when you work with pianos that most people don't get to do. Like 1.5 times a certain number. You know? Okay, there's 6 of them. I need 3 more. So it goes pretty quick. You know? I like using, you know, some people will use a smaller coil with a tighter radius. There's been some articles in the Piano Technicians Guild Journal recently about someone looking at false beats, okay? And they're saying like maybe a tighter radius might contribute to false beats, and that's been proposed in the past. I've heard of that. I've heard of that as long as I've been tuning. And so I kind of just, okay, I don't know for sure. I don't know the science behind it, but I'm going to make sure that I avoid that. And I do feel like we get a cleaner sound when the wire hasn't been crimped or something. 6, 7, 8. I think I only need 1 more. But just in case you miscount, just leave the spool on the dispenser, just in case you're going to need another one. Okay, so we've got our you know, I just want to back it up. Okay, so here we go. Now, when I'm doing the whole section or the whole piano from this point, I don't want to do every process to every string. I don't want to pick up my tools and put them down a million times. It feels slow, it is slow. So what I do, I'm gonna pull this tight, mark it, cut, measure it, and cut it. So what determines how many coils that you can wrap around the pins if they were both evenly distributed between the shared ends? It's the length of the string, correct. That's all it is, the length of the string. So if you're consistent in determining that coil length after the pin, and you bring them up to pitch in a balanced way, you're gonna have a consistent number of coils. And that's what this system aims at. Like a lot of what I do, like marking it with the marker after it's flat against the plate. You know, I could throw a string on the piano without all this stuff, and it would be fast. It would be really close. But for a new, like a piano that's supposed to look like new, I'd rather do it this way. Oh, and I forgot what I was doing. Normally I just go, and that's it. Okay, that's it here for our first round, and then we just do the next wire. So we go that far. We put the string. Here's the steps. The string on the correct path. Step 1. Mark to the that side of the tuning pin block hole. On both, on the correct pin, on the correct hole. Measure with the device and cut. coil. Okay, and the last step of that first process is to drive the pins to the correct height. No, we're just not drive the pins, just tack them in. I kind of botched that. There we go. And do it again. Interesting. I like to use my bean bag if it keeps coming off on me. Use a bean bag. Oh, even with the bean bag. The smaller wire will do this a little more. Okay, that's correct. Should be all right. And drive. We're going to drive this one. But this hose is kind of in my way. Shorten my hose. Let's try that. Yeah. Move these wires a little closer to my person. A little speedier there. Bean bag. Did anyone take a guess at what's in the bean bag? It's heavy. I'll give you that. Not lead. No, take that back. No, it's I'm not sure on that actually. After I finish this size of wire, I'll check your guesses and see if anyone nails it. At the conclusion of size 13, I will reveal the contents of the beanbag. We gotta have some fun, right? Okay. Did I cut an extra string? No. Wait, maybe I did. I think I did. I think I cut an extra one. Yeah, I had an extra wire. Doesn't hurt anything, just unless you put it on. Don't put it on. Okay, let's see if anyone got it right. Guessed what was in the beanbag or not. If they even made a guess. Tuning pins? No. String spacing template. Spielen is a verb meaning to play. That's what I thought. Spiel is a noun meaning story. Oh, that makes sense. Thank you, Johannes Brahms. Okay. Yeah, but I always thought Spiel meant to play. Okay. I'm not sure about the string spacing template, but what I do when I tighten them is I have this guy that I made out of a graph, right? And that helps me space them like initially, but I kind of just know also what they should be spaced like. I follow a, really, you just, if you do a straight line, but we're not to the spacing yet, it has to be tight, right? To some degree. You just follow a straight line from the bridge pin all the way to the tuning pin, and it should work out. So, so it's not tuning pins, so it's copperhead BBs that are in here because they're heavy and they're small so that they can put pressure, hopefully a lot of pressure in small areas to keep that on there. And it works pretty well. I haven't found anything better. Okay, 13 and a half. 13 and a half. So spiel can mean to play, to mean play. Can spiel be a verb? Like, oh, I guess it's spiele, right? Ich spiele. I don't know. But I imagine if it's Johannes Brahms' house, he probably knows a little something about German. Okay. 13 and a half. So this one was an extra one. I don't want to get confused. I'm just going to throw it in the trash here. All right, 13 and a half. We have 4 notes of 13 and a half. 4 times 1.5 is 6, correct. Another way to think of it is there's 3 strings to every 2 notes. Right? Oh, I didn't do what I said I normally do. I wasn't lying. I do normally do it when I remember, which is I'm going to determine the length here. And then I'm going to reel this back. And then just decide, you know, where to pull it to. Okay, I'm going to pull it basically to that same corner, and we're fine. So just do that, and we want 6 of these babies. 1, 2, 3. 4. 5. And 1 more. Stretch my legs and my back. 6. I'm going to pinch this last one while I walk around the piano. Okay, 1. Okay, is anyone familiar with the word Spielart? Spielart? It was used by Franz Mohr, who was a technician for Steinway, when he was describing how a piano plays. I was kind of fascinated by that word, and it just kind of resonated with me. Oops. That's what I get for not putting beanbag on. One, two, three. So I kind of like this system of the tool palette. Landon helped me build it, and cause it's kind of nice because you can grab one thing with each hand. Is the idea for most of these operations, and put them back at the same time, you know, and they're within reach. So it's kind of more efficient that way. Even with the beanbag, it popped off. It just, you have to just kind of put up with a little bit of that in the treble, I find. Oh, come on. It's not behaving for me here. Just, it's getting caught on another ridge pin right there, but there we go. That's more better. If you want to see a certain camera angle, I'll take requests on that. I mean, as long as I can do it. Okay, 2 more strings of this size. And then I'll see if anyone wants me to move the camera somewhere particular to see a particular aspect of this. Okay, we're going to be on to size 14 here. So, let's see where we want to do the camera. Okay. Franz Moore was using the third person singular of the verb spielen. To say es spielt, or it plays. What if he said Spielart? Right? Wasn't that a word that he... Wir spielen, ich spiele. Not between strings in the group, but the distance between each group. Oh! No, I don't have any, because when you make the bridge cap, right, then when you make the bridge cap, sorry, let me, I'm thinking a few things at once. I want to move the camera, but in order to do that, I need to move my power cord here. So Yeah, when you make the bridge, it'll make the spacing thing. But okay. All right, we'll put this right here and we'll carry. Oh, you know what? That's going to be kind of in the way. So I'm going to come over this side and we'll get in there a little tighter, I guess. Now we'll get in there a little looser. There we go. Okay. You can zoom in from your end if you want. Okay, now we need size 14. So yeah, it's in his book, My Life with the Great Pianist, Franz Moore. And he talks about a word that describes like how the piano plays, like its tone and its feel together. And if I remember right, it's S-P-I-E-L and then A-R-T with it, like almost like a hyphenated kind of thing. If it was English, maybe, I don't know about German, but okay, we got 4 notes for 14, which means 6 strings, right? So we want, let's see, where should we pull this to? I'm gonna pull it to the arm there. Six notes of 14. 1, 2, 3. So right now, I mean, the strings are so loose, the distance between notes sorts itself out because of the way the bridge is and the way where the tuning pins are. So we put those things in the same place as original, more or less, unless we need to make a correction. 5. So that's the scale, the note scale of the piano, the note spacing scale of the piano. 5. So I make a pattern of the bridge cap. When I'm doing the bridge cap, I make a pattern of the bridge. This is size 14, right? Yep, 14. Good. My beanbag is useless today on these strings on this piano. Maybe I need to like leave my bridge pins higher, but that's hard to do and fit them under the plate sometimes. So I don't know. My cutters are falling apart on one side. I can get these off Amazon. The screw gets loose. That's part of the deal. There we go. That's a little better. Those cutters do kind of, I mean, they don't hold together great for very long. You do, that's one that I replace from time to time because they break. And I try and do heavy duty cutting, you know, taking the strings off and so forth with more utility cutters from the cheap hardware store. Okay, let's see. How do I? Don't come. Tomorrow morning I'm going to take a little break, sleep in, recoup, some time with the family, and I'll be back at it wherever we at that point. Okay, that didn't go so well. Let's redo. Okay, last one of the 14s here. Okay, 14 and a half. Let's see, 14 and a half. So it could be a style of playing, spiel art. Rosin powder on the pin threads. Interesting. What kind of rosin? Like, you mean like for string instruments or something? I find with these pins, yeah, Hammond brass, you make a point. I mean, once you get the hammers in, then it's it's an interplay between spacing the hammers and spacing the strings how you want till it works out. And if the design isn't great, you have to move things. It's not like I'll space these or align them and they'll perfectly align with the hammers. No, I'll probably have to do some fudging here or there. But I don't make a template of that scale because it might not be evenly spaced as well as if I just start from scratch and do it maybe. But I'm mostly working on these, so I get really familiar with them. So, all right, and then okay. Oh, as far as the smoothness of the pins, the smoothness of the turning of the pins with this new block that I put in, like at first they might be a little clicky, and they might grab a little bit and make clicks, but then they smooth out after the second or third tuning, it seems like. So with this block, it's been really good with this block material that I use. Haven't had any issues that way. So, okay. So I'm going to cut some 14 and a halves. And I'm just going to back up for a bit. Just seems give you some fresh air there. So the way I like put in my spool, I bend this 90 and then I go down, bend it another 90. And it makes a bend that just snaps flat against this spool, which is nice. So here's 14 and a half. And how many notes of 14 and a half do we have? We have, well, this is a little different because we already put one single string on. So we need 4 strings of 14 and a half, but it's going to be 3 notes in the end here. So, this whole time I've been living beneath my privileges, and I didn't use my mouse pad for my cutter right here, which is very handy. Anyway, see, I set that and I don't have to worry about it digging into gold. All right, we only need 4 of these strings. We can do that. We can do that. And I'm going to pull it to the arm again, maybe a little past. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's all we need. Like this almost doesn't have any curvature. This is pretty straight wire. 1, 2. 3 and 4. There's 3 and here goes 4. Okay, 4, there we are. All right, let's throw these on. Ever since I changed to doing just half the process up until the point of tacking the pin in and then doing the rest all together, it's just been, I really enjoy it. It's a good, smooth way to do it. As opposed to taking every string all the way there and then moving to the next one. You know why this isn't staying on? Because these hitch pins are like barely, it's the hitch pin's fault. It's not the bridge pin's fault. These hitch pins are very low to the plate. So shame on whoever did that to us. We want higher hitch pins. Or else. 1, 2, 3. So one of my favorite snacks, I must be getting a little hungry because I'm thinking about snacks. One of my favorite snacks is crackers and cheese. I love cheese. I love crackers. Chips. I love chips. Okay, there we go. Now with one string already there and the plate strut right there, it gets a little tight, doesn't it? And but that's just the way it is, I guess. I might have to pull out the string hook, push things through there. This is one of my favorite things to do, to string a piano. I can't explain why. Except usually I'll have like, not usually, sometimes when I don't have too many pianos in here, I'll use that cart that I can raise hydraulically up to a better level for my height. It's a little more comfortable than bending halfway over all the time. That takes a little bit of a toll by the time I go to bed. It's a little stiff. I'm just going to start putting my thing right here. Uncoil this maybe. There we go. That'll be a little better. Okay, last string of 14 and a half. Not really on this side anyway. And then we go to the other side for a few, and then we switch to the other size. There we go. Ding, 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 ding. Once you mark the length or for that hose, it doesn't matter if the string pops off. That's kind of nice with this method. That's not going to stay on there anyway, I have a feeling. So I moved this here and forgot it was there. I stepped to the right anyway. Okay. That's that section. And I'm not going to finish that section. I'm going to do the whole thing and then finish them all. Because that'll save me the most time. So, let's do... We need 2 more strings of 14 and a half. Probably don't need them much longer than what I had a minute ago. So I'll just go a little bit longer with my length. Just 2 more of these guys. I could have measured them before. I just didn't know if the length was going to be different. I didn't think through it that way. We have experimented with 2 people stringing before, as far as one person cutting all the wires and then the other person just puts them on. But I think then you still have someone kind of standing around. It would be interesting to see if 2 people could string on the same piano, actually it's attaching the wires and pins and all that. I haven't tried that yet. I'd like to try it. I have tried it, but it's been a while and not in this setup. This setup might work a little better in this shop. I'm just going to be fighting these little baby hitch pins pretty much the whole way. They're not very high off the plate. So I'm just going to stop fighting. Just going to submit and keep working. Let's do what we have to do here. have no faith that that's going to stay. Woohoo, that would have been dangerous. Okay, size 15, 2, 4, 6. 6 notes of 15 equals 9 strings of 15. 6 notes, 9 strings. Let's see what we got. It's very satisfying to see a bunch of wires on the piano. And after you finish these first treble sections, then it seems like, whoa, then it starts to really take off just because the notes are further apart. They cover a larger area across the piano. So it gives you the feeling of more progress, I think. Okay, we want 9 strings of 15, and we need it to be about yay long. Which is going to be, let me move this thing over here. I'm going to pull it to that corner. 9 of these guys. It's a lot. 9. 4. You know what I think would be really great, and maybe our audience is small enough that not a critical mass to get this going, but I would love to see people kind of converse, chat about the topics in general with the pianos, you know, between, you know, amongst yourselves, between each other on that chat. I think that would be a good thing to share ideas and so forth. You know, then the focus isn't just all on what I'm doing, but it's more the topic of pianos and making them sound good and feel good, and other people sharing ideas. If you're, I think that would be a great thing to have happen. I have a dream. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right there, look at that. I think I might move the camera, huh? What's on the film right now? Let's see. We'll move the camera in a bit and change things up a bit. So piano stringing automated. Well, I think it could be somewhat automated and be really nice, you know. Oh, a bag of rosin for baseball. Dip it in. Interesting. I don't know. Are you using these 5-ply blocks like I am the maple blocks, or using a different kind of block? Be curious to know. So I would love it, and I've seen this in the factories, you know, a machine that would at least, I would love to see, you know, that has a tongue that goes under it. It actually presses the pin instead of hammering it. And then, and it supports the pin block at the same time. And then also it would measure, cut, coil, and partially drive the pin, or even all the way drive the pin, actually better yet. As it coils, you know, they have those, right? I would love to have that type of machine. It would speed up the process a lot. Be a lot easier on the body for the operator. But to pay for a machine like that, I looked into it, went as far as to talk to a company, an automation company about it, you know, and obviously, I mean, I'm not a good businessman, but I got to realizing, I thought, well, my problem is not that I have 30 pianos in here that need to be strung and I can't string them fast enough. That's not my problem, right? If that were my problem, then a machine like that, or more like 100 pianos, right? Then a machine like that might make more sense. Where we get held up in the process the most is usually waiting for parts that are back ordered from Steinway, and then with refinishing because of the high skill involved in that, and waiting for the finisher to be able to finish their part. So that's kind of where we get held up in the process. And you know, truth be told, if the volume of pianos increased that I was doing, that would open a lot of opportunity for innovation and things like that. You know, bringing more operations in-house, or personnel in-house, on payroll, that kind of thing. But Yeah, I even contacted Petrov one time because I saw one of their stringing machines online. And I thought, I wonder if they have any surplus machines they ever sell, or if they would sell one or the design or something. And the response was that those machines were very old and they're so large it'd be difficult or impossible to break them down, ship them, and set them back up. Wouldn't make much sense was the response. So anyway. So if anyone comes across a great stringing machine in your travels, let me know. I mean, if anyone would be interested, I would. Mostly for the hobby and novelty of it. And I just love innovation that way and automation, machines. I don't know if anyone saw my post, but I have a truck that's delivering some pianos out to Manhattan soon. And they have room on the way back. It might be an empty truck on the way back. So if anyone wanted to send a piano out for some work this way, be a good time to do it. And, you know, or if you're a technician, we could arrange, you know, you could kind of like a subcontractor basis. I'd be happy to take on a portion of the rebuild, or you know, whatever you wanted me to do, I'd be willing to do. I feel like what we do, the end result of what we produce here is worth people knowing about, widespread, and so yeah, you can contact me through the website, saltlakepianoservice.com, contact form or whatever. And if you wanted to send a piano out, we could discuss that, discuss pricing, whatever. Or if it was a portion of a job for the trade, we could discuss special pricing for that. Okay. Okay, last string of 15 here, then the back stretch. Back stretch is what we need here. Look at that, last string of 15 and my last two pins that I have in the little trough here. We are getting down the wire to the wire here. That's not the right metaphor for the situation. We're getting close. Alrighty. I'm gonna take a little stretch and a little drink and see where we're at here. We're doing pretty well with our time and stuff. Getting through it. So I think with machines that I've seen, yeah, the main thing is once you have your wire, let me get a chair to sit on, a stool or something. And pull back here. Let's talk. So I think what I've seen, the most efficient thing that would speed up the process machine-wise would be having if, like I said, once you feed your wire out, and if you had a machine, you inserted it, it'd be very easy to measure that 3 inches or whatever. If the head is indexed right where the hole is, the head of the arm of the machine, it'd be easy to measure however many inches past that. And then you have a head that coils it as it drives it in or presses it in. And of course, for the tightening and tuning in the end, it'd be probably fastest by hand and things, but that would be a really good head start to have something like that. That's kind of more what I would be excited about, but. Just taking a little breather. A little Diet Coke commercial. If anybody, let's see, if you wanted to ask anything at this point, I mean, I'm getting close to. I'll probably finish this section pretty quickly here, so we'll get on it here. We're getting down the piano, but just taking a little breather here. If you wanted to ask any questions in the chat or any comments or suggestions or share ideas with everyone, that would be super. Yeah, I'm getting to that point where I'm kind of staring into space, and I'm feeling the hour. I'm feeling the lateness of the hour right now, but it makes when you lay the head on the pillow at that point, it's such sweet rest. I've done everything I can to provide for my family today. Done something good. A friend of mine once said, another technician, he said, nothing about how could anyone have any problem with what we do here? It brings about goodness in every way. I thought, he's right. It's really something. That was kind of an uplift for me with what we do here with pianos. I thought, yeah, facilitating art and music, and boy, that's just a positive thing all around. There's nobody that can't benefit from that. So, yes. All right. Enough of a rest. Time to get back to work here. So we need to do 15 and a half. We're on, that's what size we're on, is 15 and a half. Here, and we're getting through it. So yeah, I'm content. Today was a good day. some important things accomplished today. All right, how many notes of 15 and a half do we have here? Let's check it out. 2, 4, 6. What do you know? That's 9 strings. 1.5 times 6 is 9. So we'll start to measure these out. And we're going to be about right there, which is going to put us right to my Diet Coke can over there. So I'm going to pull this wire to the Diet Coke can till we run out. So we'll count them 1. Oh, we ran out. That was fast. All right, you want to see me change the spool? I don't know if I ever featured that, but we need to change the spool. We've run out, so pop this off. And it's not too bad of a process here. It doesn't take too long. So I need a Phillips screwdriver. And I'm going to unscrew these guys. It's just a screw with a washer on it into these dowels. These are oak dowels that I got because they had them at the hardware store when I made these back a million years ago. No, I'm not that old, right? But it seems like a while ago. So this comes off, okay, obviously. And we'll set that right there. We'll get our next roll of wire. 15.5. It's right here. This is what I use. Mapes International Gold. And it just comes in this coil, right? And I can see these different ends. Now I'm going to guess that if I tether this end, it would be a good thing. So let's see if that's going to be the case or not. So I'm going to pull this here, and I'm just going to tether it onto here. And I've tried a few different ways of doing this, but I think I'm just going to just anchor it like so. And spin it around the wire a little bit, twist it a little bit. And then I'll trim that really tight there to this thing. Trim that as tight as I can on here. Okay, hopefully that does it. Flip that over and anchor it down. Okay. Then the other side here is going to obviously go through the top. So here's my top. There we go. I should be able to go ahead and screw my screws back in. My washers. There it is. Okay. I'm liking it. So now we can go ahead and cut this, and just for now I'm going to anchor it into one of these holes just while I clip the zip ties on there, just in case, just to hold that there. Then I'm going to come in here and just clip these zip ties carefully. It's best if I can get on the head of it here where there's a gap, and then just get in here to clip it, and it's not going to damage the wire at all. One, and here's number two. And number three. I think there's only three on here. Yeah, there's only three. Okay, a brand new spool of wire. How exciting. So we're going to start feeding this one off and measuring it here. It's just brand new. All right, we'll carry on here. This is only our second string because we only got one off before. They do have a tendency to do that when they're full. Okay, so now we've got two here. I'm going to move clean my tools out of the way here. My bag, wire. Okay, and how many do we need two for? Six, we need 9. 9 wires of 15 and a half. Okay. I'm going to back that camera up. For anyone who's joining us, wants to check out what we're doing. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Four. Crimp it. 5. 6. This has a strong curl to it, this fresh coil. That's just on my mind because I was just reading the articles about false beats and the memory of the wire and the stress, internal tensions there. 7, 8. One more. 9. Hot dog. And that's making me hungry too. I don't know why I'm so hungry right now. I'm hungry. I need second dinner now. Okay, so we're going to be stringing. All right. If anyone's just joining us, here's the process. Place the string along its correct path. Maybe we'll put a beanbag there. Mark it with a dry erase marker on the wood hole, not the metal hole, on that side, and my mark straddles that edge. So the middle of my black mark is the target of where I want to cut it. Got my measure tool here that's measured about 1 inch equals. If you want 3 coils, you're going to cut about 3 inches past that point. If you want 4 coils, you're going to cut about 4 inches past that point. Need more tuning pins here. Fill up my dispenser there. Now I wiped off that dry erase mark. I'm going to put this tuning pin in this little jig here, which is easy to make if you wanted to make one to coil your tuning pins. You just need a crank, 1, 2, 3. 3 times with the handle in the down position is what I do. And that'll make sure that the string's tight enough that it, once I tap it into the hole a little bit, 1, 2, 3. And then make sure you're getting to the right hole, that the wires aren't crossed. And we're going to punch those in just a little bit. A little bit of something. And that's that for that wire. And then repeat. So, string along the correct path. You'll be surprised. Most of the mistakes happen there. We don't do it on the right path. We get on the wrong pin somewhere. Get off that way. Pull it tight. I lean my whole body against this, and I have nitrile coated gloves. So I'm putting a lot of tension on that wire by the time I mark it on the edge of this wood hole with the dry erase mark. Then this is a tool that I've made. I'll sell it to you. saltlakepianoservice.com. Just put in a request through the contact form and I'll get one to you. Measure, cut, wipe off the mark. And here we have, make sure the wire goes all the way through the pin. 1, 2, 3. Other side, it doesn't matter which side you do first. Really the main thing is the pulling and the marking of that measurement. And as long as you cut on that mark, you pretty much can't go wrong from there unless you cross your wires or something weird like that. Okay, but that's the main deal as far as if you want your pins at a consistent rotation when the note is tight. When the string is tight. Okay, we're going to check that. On to the next string. It goes so fast and easy. So smooth. Do one piano and you've done it 200 times or something crazy like that. So, mark. Didn't put a bean bag. Let's put a bean bag. It may or may not help, but we'll try it. The middle of my black mark is the target. This tool has an indentation, so my thumb is the brake. It holds the wire still while I'm cutting. Just clamps it in place. And this is really easy. You just put the wire, retract it till it's just all the way through the pin, and this opposing screw makes it coil around there so nice. Then the next one, these are super easy to make. This one was given to me, let me think, how many years ago? I mean, it must be almost 20 years ago, and it's my favorite one still. There we go. Next string. These strings are all shared. 3 strings equals 2 notes. Alright, pull that tight, mark it. The nice thing about the reason I mark is I can lay this flat and then I don't have an angle here and subjectivity where my head is. When it's laying flat, I can see very directly where that index is that I'm going to measure from, which is the edge of the hole in the pin block, the actual wood. Now, if you're stringing a piano that's not a Steinway, it's going to have it might have tuning pin bushings, right? Little collars of wood above, and that's fine. Just go from the inner part of the hole on that tuning pin bushing. Just don't go from the metal, because the diameter of these metal holes can vary, and it throws in another variable into the process. Now, by doing half the process or more, and then moving on to the next pin, we're saving a lot of time not having to put down tools and pick them up again. See that? So, here. Yeah. Hammer it in. This is a palm nailer. But if you put it right on the pin head, it will chew up that head. The very least it'll flatten it out. But on a new pin block like this, where it's so tight when we're driving it in the first time, it will chew it to pieces. So I've got a punch that I use that fits in the nozzle of that palm nailer. One end of the punch is hardened, the other one is soft and contoured for the pin, so it doesn't mar the pin. And it takes a long time for the head of the punch to deform. If it deforms and gets too wide for the hole of the palm nailer, I just sand it a little bit. Just sand it down and then I keep using it. I don't quite have those punches ready for market because I've had trouble with the hardening of them. I can't seem to find someone again who can get them the right hardness. I need to tweak them a little bit, but I have, but I use them a lot, and I'm just still into the testing phase before I feel really confident selling it to somebody that way. But I use them. And I've used this system for a long time, and palm nailer's not an original idea with me. It's been around since before me. Someone else, I read it like on a PTG something, or someone suggested it. Great ideas out there. Lots of people with great ideas. I'm gonna mark that. Mark this. My tool palette is a big deal to me because it has everything I need right on it, and it's protected from marring the piano. Big surface kind of protecting it, and I can pick up two things, one in each hand at a time, put them down, pick up two new things basically. Saves a lot of time. Just keeps things organized too while you're working. I really like this tool palette. We just made one and kind of thought through it and tweaked it a little bit how we wanted based on our process, and this is what we came up with. So this is just the first kind of prototype, but we've been using it a long time. I think it works pretty well. This is magnetic. You got to watch out for that. It'll grab a wire once in a while. Okay, we're cruising. 2 notes left of this wire size, and then we're almost done with this section. Bam. Mark. Mark, measure, cut. My favorite thing to do while I'm doing this is to listen to music. Some kind of like yacht rock or something a little bit heavier, maybe, probably a little more upbeat, and just go for it. Before you know it, you got strings on the piano. And it's almost ready to make music with. Okay. Strings here. Yeah, it's one of my favorite jobs. I mean, my fingers get sore and stuff, my back gets stiff, but I still like it. I mean, you can't really play a piano without strings. It's that is obvious. It's kind of the core part of the sound. You know, new strings can add a lot of sustain to a piano. You don't have the corrosion that gets in there over time. This is not stainless. This is an alloy, and it rusts. It corrodes. So you get a lot of corrosion on there, and the sound gets kind of choked by nature of all the gunk on the strings, almost like barnacles on a pier, on a pillar of a pier or something. And so I find with the nice clean wire, the tone of the piano improves a lot just from that aspect of it. And then of course it opens the opportunity for a new pin block when you restring, refinishing the soundboard, the plate, repairing the soundboard, replacing the bridge cap. It opens the door for a lot of improvements to the tone besides just the wire, but just the wire, just by virtue of it being new wire, will improve the tone of the piano significantly. If you have someone that's used to never tuning their piano because it's an old piano and it doesn't really move at all in pitch, and then they're like, but you can't tune it, you know, it's kind of a hard sell a little bit to explain, well, this will improve the piano, but you might have to wait a few years before the strings are very stable again. You know, you have to put more money into maintenance after we do these repairs. That's kind of a hard sell sometimes to people. They don't get it. I try and just tell them, I just say, hey, new wire, it stretches out like any stringed instrument. I find it takes, 2 or 3 years before you can kind of get on a more regular tuning schedule. And during that first year, you maybe want to do it 3 or 4 times, and then every 6 months, and then just go from there and see what the piano does as it stabilizes. But it'll be much better for the piano in the long run. I don't know, maybe you have suggestions, a better way to kind of explain it to customers. How do you do it? You know, if you're a technician or if you're a customer, what would be a good way to explain that concept? Because there's no way you can catch up to, a piano that's been stretching for 70, wire that's been stretching for 70 years. Hey, we're on size 16 already. I've been gabbing away. We're on size 16. We need 3 wires of 16. Let's see, any cool comments in the live chat? Yeah, this is good work. I do like it. Appreciate your comments there, Johannes Brahms. I really want to see if we can get people chatting with each other on there. That would be great. But I'm not forcing you or anything. Just if you feel like it. Of course, I'm not forcing you. I can't force you, right? All right, 16. Okay. Now here we only have 2 notes of this on this side that we want to do. I'm just going to do those 2 notes first and then measure the rest after that, because they're actually a little bit longer. So I'm going to go to here, and that's going to take me, oops, I need to thread that on there again. It's going to take me past the Coke can. Now I'm to the socket sit, okay? Just an arbitrary point that allows you to draw that wire, pull that wire repeatedly a few times for the same length. So we only need 3 of these to start. 3 wires makes how many notes if they're all shared, assuming that? That's right, 3 wires makes 2 notes if they're all shared. If you have an odd number of notes with a certain wire size, that means that you are going to have a single tie or more for that size of wire. Okay, here we go. Putting on the 16s here. 1. This wire's getting thicker. I'm definitely feeling that. Makes the fingers a little more sore when you handle them. It's a little more stiff. Mark, measure, cut, coil. And then what comes after coil? Drive. Measure, cut, coil, drive. Measure, cut, coil, drive. Say it 20 times fast. Go. If you're joining, you haven't seen it, this is a dry erase marker, so it's easy to wipe off the mark. And Landon, who helped me design this tool palette, he came up with the idea of drilling a hole, sticking the hole's tight enough where the cap gets caught in the hole, and you can pull the pen in and out and stick it back in the cap upside down so the ink's ready to flow. And you can get a new pen and just reuse the old cap in that hole over and over and over and over and over. It's great. Brilliant. Brilliant idea. 2, 3. One, 2, 3. Okay. Oh, this was throwing me off. We need one more string of 16. I was like, wait a minute. Why are there extra bridge pins open? I have to make another string for when I messed up earlier on that. And I can put them on the existing tuning pins that are already driven in there. Which is what we will do. So I guess I'll have to pull one more wire, 16 for this side. Look, I don't waste that much wire. It's just, you know, a matter of a few inches. And it's a lot less violence to the string to do it this way by crimping it first, placing it on the hitch pin, and then just measuring both sides while they're loose. Doesn't put any weird kinks in the wire or anything. Okay. Okay, now for this one, for this next one, it's not going to be like an exact thing. Let's see, I'll show you here. Because the pins are already on there. So this kind of is like simulating a repair, kind of, right? So So you would measure your wire just the same, whatever length you need. And I would bend it and crimp it just the same here on the end. Get it through here. Now I need a string hook. Where's my string hook? Here it is. Need to pull that up through there. So you have a string hook like this in the field. You gotta get it. Same thing, put your string along the correct path. Put it on the hitch pin. Now when we measure, I'm gonna measure a little bit differently. Actually here I don't need to, but you know, in the field you could just put your finger in line with that area and then cut with your fingers. Or you could use my tool still to measure. It's designed where if it's run its shortest, if these screws are running, you put it right here on the top of the pin, it'll be just about right. But I'm just gonna take this string down and do the same thing that we've been doing basically. Only difference is we'll have to use a dummy pin, 2 of them, and then take the coil off the dummy pin and put it on the pins that are already down there. Now I've already backed these pins out to where they need to be so that they'll be the right height when it's tight. But in the field you would want to make sure you back the pins out so they're the correct height to match everything around them, right? Okay. Same thing in the field, you could use a coiling jig like this and coil just the same, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. It's really the same process, just there's already strings on the piano that may or may not get in your way. Now here's the main difference here. We just want to get the coil off, and I just grabbed some really jeweler's round nose and I just pry and twist the pin just enough to work that off. We'll reuse that pin in a minute. Be just careful not to scratch the pin up too bad. Then just make sure you have the correct wire right and left. Now we should be able to just, I'm going to work one at a time here, and I'll use my jeweler's round nose to kind of peel that coil back as far as I need to, and then insert the becket right into the hole. There. If anyone out there knows if becket is a German word or something, or where that word came from, that would be great. I'm sure the AI knows. Ask ChatGPT. Where does the word becket come from? And do we use it correctly? Or do I use it correctly? Or am I misguided? Okay, here we go. Now, the coil is going to be a little looser because you've taken it off a dummy and put it back on. So in the field, same way. So you're going to need to crimp this in carefully before you do anything else. Now, I hope I don't make a mistake on this one coming back through and forget that these pins are already driven in. But I'm gonna rotate the becket bend to 9 o'clock on them, and we'll just leave it there, and that should be good for when I come through and do my other work. Well, it's that time. I need some sleep, and you need to process this and relax. But thanks for checking this out. Thanks for watching and hanging out in the shop. And I'll check the chat one more time before I cut it, if there's any burning questions, since things are a little more relaxed tonight. But look, we've strung the top 2 treble sections in about probably three and a half hours, and then we took a long time instructing on how to do that. So, you know, probably 2.5 hours maybe to get to that point. Once you get to the point where you can start putting strings on, be my guess. But anyway, so what do you got in the chat here? We got some crazy questions. Let's see. What do we got here? We have, nope, that's it. Well, thank you so much for joining. And any questions, go to the website, Salt Lake Piano Service at saltlakepianoservice.com. Oh, here's a question. Does frequent tuning loosen the tension of the block? As far as the tightness of the pin in the block holes, I'm assuming what you're asking, if I understand right. If that's what you're asking, if you keep a piano in tune, you're not having to turn the pin in the block much. And that's the goal. So with most of the concert instruments I do, very minimal actual turning in the block. Yes, I think if you took a pin and you took a wrench and you went over and over and over, you'd find that the pounds torque to move it would decrease over time. Now there might be a shelf to that, but so in general, you know, you try not to, like I wouldn't run a tuning pin all the way out by turning it and then put it back in. Certainly no. I would be really worried about that, you know, creating inconsistency in the tightness of the pin that way. The tightness with these pins, I'll show the piano here. When we start tuning these, there will be an incredible drop in tension in that tightness at first. For the first few tunings, they'll be very tight, and then and also humidity can change that the most, really. So tuning it frequently, yes, you might get a little looser, but it's not bad for the piano. It's good, because actually you'll end up having to turn the pins less in the long run. Great question. And with that, we'll see you later. Thanks, y'all. Bye.